All
But most
right,
people call the
we
Clinton
have a glitch. All right, we're recording. Okay.
body
So
count,
how
which
do
is
we
the
skip this?
strange number of suicides that seem to happen in Clinton circles.
Like we can't go to the middle of the video? That sucks. Huh?
I have a headline here from the Washington Post that said, Trump peddles false conspiracy theories tying the Clintons to several deaths. So I just wanted to highlight real quick, this wasn't in Trump's video, but this is from the Arkansas Times, and it's the death of Mark Middleton, who was a former Clinton White House aide, who was found dead on a Clinton Foundation property. And I'll just quote from the Arkansas Times. Middleton apparently shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and also hung himself from a tree with an extension cord. So I have no idea how somebody commits suicide that way, but if the Washington Post is here, maybe you can enlighten us as to how that was actually a suicide. So anyways, that's just a lead into my question about the most famous Clinton-related suicide, which is that of Jeffrey Epstein. There's still a lot of questions around that case. You've released phase 1 of the Epstein files. What was missing from that is any connection to his ties to intelligence agencies, and that's really the whole story, that not just trafficking young girls, but doing it on behalf of intelligence agencies, and even potentially as part of a blackmail ring.
So I think a lot of this ties to the Israel stuff because, Trump keeps saying, like, no, I'm not going to let him do this. And no, we don't want to fund another war. But he seems to, like, give them what they want. But he got, like, 2,000 hostages released the other day in the ceasefire, Israeli hostages. So anyway, I'm thinking that, it was an op and it was an op to be able to use the world leaders to your advantage. Hey, do this. If you don't, I'm going to let everybody know you're a kitty rapist like they did to Prince Andrew.
With potential ties to the Israeli government. So for phase 2, when can we expect it? Will it have information pertaining to those aspects of the Epstein case?
I know the Attorney General has committed to releasing those files. I would defer you to the Department of Justice on her timeline, but when she's made a promise in the past, she has kept it, and I'm certain that she will in this case as well.
But most people call
her face was like, oh, that question's heavy. How do I answer this? Oh man, you can't keep the truth hidden. Also, it's kind of interesting to me. Same thing with the Obamas. Like, their chef died. Like, you can't even be in the vicinity of them and not have your life at risk. You can't even like, your life as their garbage man is probably in danger. But yeah, and the Clintons just continuously get away. So I would love to see this indictment of Comey lead to an indictment of Hillary Clinton, because I think Clinton, Obama, Cheney's, Bush's, I think they all need to be swinging from the gallows. Obama's, Biden's, all of them, the whole lot of them. Okay, CERN, close the damn portal. Letting the freaking air out. Do you guys know CERN? Hope you probably don't know what CERN is. It is a company in, I want to say Finland or something, Sweden. One of the two countries is basically the same thing. Sorry, guys. Don't mean to offend. But they have like a proton collider that's like 17 miles or 13 miles long, somewhere in the teen miles. And it goes in a circle and they collide protons together. And so a couple years ago, back the same year when Israel did the, not this last red heifer sacrifice, but the one before that, it was around the same time, and we had like a solar eclipse. Well, they did their proton collider during the solar eclipse in the spring of, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and or 2024. I want to say maybe it was 2023. Not sure, but supposedly during the solar eclipse, word spread around back then that they encountered a dimension, being from the fourth dimension. So I'm gonna play this video for you guys.
And they've used their collider to open up a portal to communicate with extraterrestrial beings.
Well,
and one of them are the occupants from 3i Atlas.
To be clear, CERN.
So 3 3A or 3I Atlas, 3IA is that thing that looks like a comet or meteor or whatever that half the people on the internet believe is just a comet or a piece of rock, and then the other half of people on the internet believe that it is some sort of spacecraft that is like cloaked, to look like a asteroid or meteor.
Already has a room and a technology to open a portal to talk to extraterrestrials.
Yes.
But recently, they also used it to communicate with the beings on 3i Atlas.
That's correct.
Okay, go
Yes. So those beings introduced themselves as such, like I said, we are the occupants of this object, and they did not show up physically. They show up as holograms.
on.
Holograms.
Now, they apparently showed up as holograms. They looked tall, that's what she said, and they communicated telepathically with every single scientist.
That's what she
in the
said.
room.
Wow.
And they all got the same
So tall, long, think like the Greys, the diplomats of like the galaxy,
message, which is
non-hostiles. Come on, Battlestar Galactica people, Starship
that they are coming in
Troopers, even I'll give you that one. Star Trek, Star Wars. Where are all my sci-fi people?
peace, and they're just trying to come over here to gather all the star seeds of this planet.
So when you remote viewed, did you pick up on that intention as well?
So star seeds on this planet, meaning like people who, have shared DNA as them, which they think is the reptilian beings. And interviewer just asked about remote viewing, which is a skill that some psychic mediums have where they can see another location real time. And many of these people are tested very simply by sending one person out to a location and the remote viewer having to locate them and describe the room they're in and see how close they are. So they do exist and it is real.
Yes and no. I believe that the direct reptilians, will be coming to Earth, but as to know what the exact intent, that I couldn't really say.
Well, this is an extraordinary development.
It is.
You remote viewed.
What would be scary, he says he can't really say, but what would be scary is that, they just like come and abduct all these people they call star seeds, which is in the spiritual realm, they call them light workers. In the science realm or the atheist realm, they think it's aliens, which, to a point, spiritually, miracles all have a scientific explanation. You can't break the physical code of the third dimension. So, like, if you were, like, say, Mary, right, with Jesus, getting pregnant by Jesus, it would make more logical sense that Mary was artificially inseminated. That's how you get a virgin birth. I do that with my dogs all the time. So, maybe it was aliens that inseminated Mary. Maybe these are these star seeds.
3i Atlas. Did you do that on your own, or were you tasked with this assignment?
I was tasked by the same intelligence people I'm working with to look at the object because they also had concerns. But what I saw as a remote viewer was a mothership.
Now, when he says intelligence people he's working with, it's a private company. This isn't government intelligence.
With occupants on board, and they were mostly direct reptilian occupants.
Okay.
That's what I saw as a remote viewer.
And that was corroborated by other remote viewers seeing the same thing.
That's correct. Yes.
The ship and Draco.
That's correct. One of them is John Vivanco, who is also.
Oh, damn it, I did it again. Interestingly,
At CERN,
I had a dream that was similar to this. So it makes me, have some. It makes me pay attention to what these people are saying because I had a very similar dream and they looked like they were, humanoid of some type, but greenish. I wouldn't say scaly, but amphibious looking, reptile-y looking, I guess. And they were like at a desk and they were in space in a rock and I saw the asteroid belt. So it makes me, my ears perk up when I hear about this. And plus, I've been following CERN, which, you know, they have a ritual that they do as well. That's for, you know, a lot of like the Viking pantheon and all that stuff. You should look into CERN. It's pretty interesting. They are trying to use scientific tools, you know, to prove and dimensional space exists and manipulate it and, you know, travel through it. So it's pretty cool. So you can hit play on that, unmute. Okay.
It's an extraordinary development.
It is.
You remote viewed 3i Atlas. Did you do that on your own, or were you tasked with this assignment?
I was tasked by the same intelligence people I'm working with to look at the object, because they also had concerns. But what I saw as a remote viewer was a mothership with occupants on board, and they were mostly Draco reptilian occupants.
Okay.
That's what, you know, I saw as a remote viewer.
And that was corroborated by other remote viewers seeing the
Yes,
same thing.
that's correct. Yes,
The ship and Draco.
that's correct. One of them is John Vivanco, who is also a known remote viewer, and he announced it publicly as well. And other people from the Stargate program as well. So they basically all came up with the same idea. At CERN,
Okay, so the Stargate program. Look that up too, because I'm going to talk about that on the show here soon. It's a government program, and it is about, you know, traveling interdimensional space, like the movie Interstellar. So, you know, space, aliens. I do talk about that kind of stuff on my show because it is a statistical improbability that aliens don't exist. I mean, it's just math. It's impossible that all of that space out there has nobody there. Okay. Let's see how people really feel about Trump's profound announcement with autism. Trump's profound autism.
He said it's historic, and he wasn't lying. OMG. President Donald J. Trump, this woman salutes you. I've been waiting 20 years, and when you said today, these guys behind me are different, finally, and I mean, you understand the assignment, the way you explained everything when it comes to profound autism. Oh my goodness, how you said it's common sense, and how you guys said by the end of the year.
Common sense.
I'm just so grateful. Okay, this is about children, this is about adults, and my son Thomas, yes, Thomas, T4 autism, we are absolutely elated. We are coming up for air. We are being seen. And we are so grateful. God bless you for this. He said it's historic.
A lot of people
he wasn't lying.
Annoyed the shit out of me about this when he made the announcement, because Trump is not the one that made the discovery, and the reason why she is jumping for joy is because parents have known this about Tylenol. Parents have known this about vaccines because Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey, if you remember, were kind of the first people to like kind of make this become mainstream in a kitchen table conversation. So with my first kid, you know, I did the thing, stayed on the schedule, whatever. I also have something called fibromyalgia, and I had all my vaccines as I was growing up. And so anyway, I did the same for my firstborn. Her first set of vaccines, they gave her 6 of them. And then by the end of the week, it started 3 days after, but by the end of the week, she was covered from scalp to toenail with an eczema rash. And you cannot tell me it's not vaccine related. And to me, it makes sense that one medical intervention will always lead to another medical intervention. So to me, all of these toxins has been a big scam by pharma to kill you, and or if it doesn't kill you, keep you medically dependent the rest of your life. And if it does kill you, well, you just dropped hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to keep, the remainder of your life as comfortable as possible. But when I did the research, yeah, disgusting things like child fetus parts in these vaccines, mercury, other metals, some derivative, aluminum, something, a bunch of chemicals that should not be going into your body. And it correlates when you look up, and just there's many reports when you Google it that correlates. You see trend lines with vaccine usage and the rise in autism, and also taking Tylenol. Tylenol has been known to be a poison. So I believe what makes it so bad is the fillers and carriers, but acetaminophen itself is just really bad for your body. So I don't know if there's any way around that, but yeah, so I mean, I think nature should just do its job most of the time, let the strong survive so that the naturally immune have naturally immune babies, because it hasn't been such a great experience with me having an autoimmune disease. I mean, you're revving up the immune system, creating all these little soldiers, and when it ever encounters the disease it's trying to fight, it's just going to run around your body attacking weaker cells on top of the chemical, poison that they put in there to toxify your brain. Also, might I mention, which calcifies the pineal gland, all these toxins, fluoride, aluminum, heavy metals, mercury. Your pineal gland is what we use to communicate with spirit, with the Holy Spirit. And yeah, it's the perfect mechanism for the government to down tune, make go dead and obsolete in your brain, because then they can lie to you and you'll never catch them in their lies because you don't have that voice of spirit anymore. All right. On that note, we're going to look at reverse engineering DNA.
But the kicker is that we can now look at the DNA and reverse engineer it and say, what did it take to get where we are? And what scientists are now calling the smoking gun, and there's still a lot of controversy around this.
This is referring to our origins, by the way.
Is human chromosome number 2. Human chromosome number 2 is the second largest chromosome in every cell of the body. It's got about 1,200 or so genes in that chromosome. And just one of them, gene TBR number 1, is responsible for most of the brain that we have for our neocortex. So our humanness, our empathy, sympathy, compassion, love, our cognitive abilities, the mirror neurons, all these kinds of things are because that one gene. Well, where this gets really interesting is, where did chromosome 2 come from? And scientists have the answer, but they don't like the answer, because chromosome 2 is the product of a fusion. Proceedings from National Academy of Sciences, the volume Genetics, says this very clearly.
So a fusion. So remember earlier when we were talking about the portal and CERN and aliens, yeah. So AI, it's much more likely that the Virgin Mary was artificially inseminated by a more powerful being.
We conclude that the origin of human chromosome 2 is the product of an ancestral fusion, a telomere to telomere fusion of 2 pre-existing chromosomes.
So that's like gene splicing. So you would engineer that and then artificially inseminate a host, a virgin.
Not happen in nature. It can't happen in nature. But the kicker is that we can now look at the DNA and reverse.
Okay, yeah. So this just kind of connects to the video earlier that I was showing you. Okay, so, just had to provide a little backup on how that might work. If we were to be created by more intelligent alien race that we somehow perceive to be God. Okay, so this is an older video. And we were talking about vaccines earlier. This is a video from, I think, like the 80s, the early 80s. So how many fetuses are too many fetuses, folks? You tell me. 17,000, is that too many?
I saw it myself. I couldn't believe it. And it's just, just little bitty babies, just all torn to pieces. Their heads chopped off, arms, legs, just
Hundreds of human fetuses.
The hands, arms chopped off, and legs. That's the result of mid and late term abortion. They suck it out with a vacuum and literally tear the baby apart. A grueling and horrible, disgusting murder.
Some possibly in the 6th month of development were found stacked in a large shipping container picked up behind the home of a medical laboratory owner. Detective Roland Drowen said the fetus.
So like I said, this is from the early 80s. This was like when private dark money was engineering vaccines. This is what they were using it for.
From the size of an egg up to as much as 4 pounds were preserved in white plastic containers, packed in cardboard boxes and stored in the large container. The fetuses were discovered Thursday night after the owner of the 20-foot by 8-foot storage container repossessed it from Mel Weisberg because he failed to make a $1,700 payment. The company picked it up and brought it back. They noticed it was quite heavy. While unloading, a box had dropped and a fetus was discovered.
One of them fell down and hit me right in front of my feet. And it was...
I saw it myself.
So, did you notice the name? Mel Weisberg. Oh my God. Interesting again. Another Jewish name. The Crusader. Probably. I want to do some research. I asked my producer to do some research on Mel Weisberg, but he didn't put anything in my notes. So I'm curious to know if he is good friends with Bill Gates. I don't know if you knew. I'm on a theme tonight, but I've got like 4 or 5 alien videos for you.
The only species on this planet that sunburns this easily. Let that sink in. Birds, covered in UV blocking feathers, reptiles, scales, natural armor, whales and dolphins, specialized skin cells that literally repair damage from the sun. Even apes, our supposed ancestors, have thick fur shielding them. But us step outside too long and the sun cooks us alive. Why would evolution do that? Enter Dr. Ellis Silver, environmental scientist, not some internet crackpot. He proposes something that flips the whole Darwinian script on its head. Humans might not have evolved on Earth. Let me say that again. We're not from here. We were placed here. Because if you take a step back and look objectively, our biology doesn't fit this planet. We overheat easily.
Interesting. We have to cook our food. We have to build houses. We have to wear clothes. Like we can't just go outside and just live like an animal. Like everything's a threat for us. Everything. And we're the only species on Earth that continues to multiply regardless of the amount of available resources naturally. Any other species, like for example, I don't know, the Galapagos Islands, their wildlife has hit a level out because you get to a point where there's so much abundance of natural resource at the beginning, right? And you just keep multiplying, and then those resources go down, and then you level out depending on depending on the availability of the natural resources. Except for us, we just continue to terraform and create more carnage.
We suffer from chronic pain, allergies, anxiety. We need shoes to walk, umbrellas to survive sunlight. And our babies? Practically useless for the first year. There's not another species on Earth this fragile and high maintenance. This planet is a survival machine. Everything adapts, everything evolves, except us. So Dr. Silver asks, what if we were engineered? A hybrid species brought here from somewhere else? Maybe a failed experiment.
Like maybe Mars?
Maybe a colony. Maybe even punishment. We don't know. But our skin, our bones, our biology, they're all...
I think it's more like punishment, for sure.
all whispering the same thing. You might feel human, but
Or secondarily, which is more likely, is whatever would be responsible for creating us lived on Mars, and seeing all the NASA images coming out of Mars, it is definitely looking like there was a civilization there, and they probably had some sort of nuclear war, natural disaster, and took a hop, skip, and a jump right over here.
this place was never made for you, or maybe you were never made for this place.
This is just
the only.
Interesting, right? Okay, next.
Humans were actually created by ancient extraterrestrials long ago. An advanced civilization from the planet Nibiru discovered Earth. They were traveling in hopes of finding...
Okay, so in 8th grade, there was a few paragraphs on Nibiru in science, in our science book, a McGraw-Hill science book, and then they took it out probably about 5 years later, but at the time it was called Planet X, and online you could find the real name Nibiru through, people who had been involved in the Roswell community and all the whistleblowers from back then. But Planet X was what was actually in our books.
Finding more material.
Can you please tell the cats to stop having a party up there?
For their home planet. At the time, Earth was not home to any intelligent life. They used their advanced technology to combine the DNA of their species with the DNA of the Homo erectus, and with this, they created the first humans. The human race was created to be turned into slaves for the Anunnaki. We would harvest the...
Okay, so think back to the Tower of Babel, right? So the Tower of Babel was built in a specific spot, and it was made out of quartz and it was put around the magnetic fields to emit a frequency that kept the people in a lulled zombie-like state. So there's actually biblical evidence to back up this claim right here.
The Earth's materials for them. This is why there are massive pyramids on almost every continent. When they were filled up with precious metals and the pyramids were activated, it would send a signal up into the cosmos to alert the Anunnaki that they needed to return. And
okay, so the pyramids are now being known to have rooms that exhibited certain types of energy and power that were radioactive. They found some kind of ancient language that looks as if it's like warnings or caution tape, to stay behind a certain line, when these chambers were activated in these pyramids. Now, if you study Sumerian literature, a good place to start is Billy Carson and the Gaia Network. But Thoth, the god Thoth, was known to have picked out 2 human bodies that he stored into 2 pyramids, and he would use the pyramids to transfer his consciousness between one and the other while one was repairing itself, and that's how he lived so many thousands of years, how his reign in Egypt was so long, or what is now known as Egypt. And so this is, if you continue reading that and studying that Sumerian history, it takes you up to Isis being one of the direct descendants of Thoth. And the book of Genesis, the word Genesis means generation of Isis. So it's highly likely, according to this alien theory, that Jesus was from the bloodline of Thoth, artificially, which would be aliens, artificially inseminated Mary. So that would be how this story that they're explaining right here, how this all makes sense. What are they doing? Do they not have water?
And collect what was farmed. This theory comes from ancient Sumerian texts, the first ever recorded text from human beings. This is why many ancient cultures have art that depicts extraterrestrial gods. All this evidence is why many people think.
And that evidence is found in all continents where these people didn't have access to each other. So if we go back to the Nimrod thing and the Tower of Babel, when Satan, quote unquote, gave them language and tools and scattered them around, that would be this event, putting them in the UFOs and scattering them to the different continents. And this is why you would see these hieroglyphics and all these caves around the world that look very similar.
Humans were actually created by ancient extraterrestrials.
Okay. Next.
What if I told you Hinduism spoke about aliens, interplanetary travel, and other dimensions thousands of years ago? Sounds wild? It's not. The Rig Veda talks about lokas, multiple realms beyond Earth. There's Swarga, realm of the Devas, Patala, ruled by the Nagas, serpent beings with glowing underground cities, and Asuras, mighty beings often misunderstood as demons. Gandharvas, celestial sound engineers. Kinnaras, hybrid beings with mystic powers. And all of them used Vimanas, flying crafts described in ancient texts with detail, anti-gravity, solar engines, energy shields. The Vaimanika Shastra isn't mythology, it's an ancient flight manual. The Mahabharata describes aerial dogfights and weapons that sound eerily like modern tech, lasers, missiles, even nukes. Today we're still looking for aliens, but ancient India already spoke of a cosmic network of civilizations, dimensions, and technologies. So ask yourself, were these gods aliens?
There you go.
What if I told
so
you
it's
Hinduism
interesting
spoke
because, you know, of why we can't go so far in Antarctica. Like, who's in Antarctica? Is it these people they're talking about? Are there these underground people? What about in the Middle East where they won't let anyone go and they're like protecting these pyramids? I wonder why. What about these pyramids? Do they not want everyone to know? I believe that these pyramids are like some kind of portal for sure. Okay. One more alien video, folks. Aren't you excited?
Believe it. You don't think this is our technology?
No, I do not. There's no way. It is our no way it's our technology. He said that thing was 14 feet. He went like this from my canopy. And I thought to myself, why didn't he say 15? Why didn't he say 20? But he said 14. And then
So if you've been watching the congressional hearings on the UAPs, that is why this senator is talking about it now more openly.
he said this thing, it wasn't ours. He said, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't ours. And that's all he said. And I had a very high-ranking member of the Navy describe some underwater experiences they'd had with something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40.
It was doing 200 miles an hour under.
And I wonder if it's the same as that blob that we've been seeing in the ocean that's been coming up every now and then. About every month we see some like hot signature blob that roams around between like Bermuda, the west coast of Africa, and Antarctica. And it just like looks like it's tunneling. It just looks like a worm going through. When they switch from the infrared camera to there's another one where they can see like the seafloor, and it just looks like a worm, humongous worm going around the ocean. They don't know what it is.
Underwater, big as a football field, and that's no fish.
That's
so
no
is
fish.
it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go anywhere near 200 miles an hour underwater?
Not with our technology, no. The best we have is probably in the high 30s. And he was converting it. Of course, knots is what the Navy guys would do, but there's nothing.
If I fire a 30-06.
This is like the movie Cocoon. I'm telling you, the octopi, it's them. If they figured out how to start fire, they will take over the world.
Or any high caliber rifle
tasty,
underwater,
though.
it doesn't go 200 miles an hour. I can probably catch it in the length of a swimming pool or so.
There are 5 or 6, I think, deep water areas of the ocean where we know more about the surface of the moon than we do the surface of the ocean. And he said these are areas where we see a high propensity of these UFOs.
Where are we with disclosure?
It's funny. I've had a
Because I definitely think there's aliens living in the ocean. 100%. I mean, shit. Like I said, it just with the bioluminescence that's down there and the octopi, just between those two things. Like, it could be a whole freaking bioluminescent alien species, like the movie Cocoon, where they were like white and ethereal looking, and they were. I'm thinking of the right movie, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the movie Cocoon.
The deep throat moment, you know, where Nixon was overthrown, and somebody comes up to me in the hallway, in a crowded hallway, somebody who I would consider a friend, and said, "Burchett, man, you really don't need to be doing this stuff, don't you? Man, you're kicking the hornet's nest on this thing." You know,
on the UFO stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've had them try to use it against me in campaigns and things, but you know, we don't ever raise enough money to matter anyway.
Use against you in campaigns.
Yeah, and the Whisper campaign, or they put it on the internet. Burchett's, you know, all he cares about is this. No, I just care about where's the tens of millions of dollars going. I have a right to know.
Well, also, like, this is the biggest story in human history. I believe it. You don't think this is our technology?
I think that with all these congressional hearings and everything, I think they are trying to prepare us for the inevitable. I think they are slowly trying to introduce it to us so that there isn't just some massive like freak out where everybody just freaks out all at once, you know? So I think they're just trying to like softly train our psyche to just be like, hey, so we've had some friends, and in fact, that's where we've been getting our technology. Yeah. So, back to the Thoth thing. So they would he would give them technology in exchange for souls to like revive, so he could inhabit the bodies and stay in power for a long time. Thoth, so transfer his consciousness to these bodies. So, you know, the Masons and like this whole like thing, conspiracy. Come on, Masons, challenge me. It is, you know, why they're so big into human trafficking and everything. They're exchanging souls for technology. That's all it is. The person at the top, I think, is, you know, the Bible talks about the God of the system. Yep. Exchanging souls for technology. Okay. So we're going to blow more whistles on transitions.
My name is Sarah Stockton, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Since beginning my training at Syracuse University in 2008, with an emphasis on sex and gender issues, I've spent over a decade developing standards for assessing youth with gender dysphoria, but today I'm here as a whistleblower. I've seen children and teens rush into irreversible medical decisions, sometimes after a single session, with no chance to learn other ways to manage distress. I've watched families left heartbroken. At Syracuse, I helped develop a comprehensive assessment for gender questioning youth, emphasizing thorough evaluations to give time to explore identity before medicalization. By 2015, gender clinics started popping up, and organizations like Planned Parenthood began prescribing hormones without these thorough evaluations. Families were told puberty blockers were
because there's a plethora of other issues that could make someone think like this, like autism, bipolar, sexual abuse, violence.
Fully reversible despite emerging evidence of risks. Vulnerable teens, including those on the autism spectrum or in foster care, were funneled into medicalization for what were often social difficulties or trauma, not necessarily gender dysphoria.
Boom.
In one case, a former patient of mine who's gay reported that he was harmed by another therapist who rushed him into medical transition. He was so upset with nowhere.
Rushed. Because all they have to say is, I'm trans, and then the dollar signs. Because throughout the course of the sex change, the hundreds of thousands of dollars the doctor makes would make you vomit.
To turn to for help. I had never heard of the term detransitioner, and I had never encountered someone who was this distraught and harmed by what has happened. His providers would not provide any guidance, no recommendations, but to continue his transgender identity. We had been assured that regret was rare if it existed at all, and that affirmation was the only path. Almost every professional I encountered validated that I wasn't just treating children, but saving them. In reality, The system was failing them by prioritizing affirmation over developmentally informed therapy. When I raised concerns about a friend group of 4 teens transitioning all together in 1 month, I was silenced and I was told I had no basis to question that. Inspired by public discussion.
That's called being in a cult. You're trapped. You can't say anything or you'll be shunned by everyone.
I spoke out in the documentary, What is a Woman? The backlash was swift. I was terminated from the university and blacklisted from organizations after I was there 15 years without any formal complaints against me, and every single evaluation was about my exemplary service. But I am here because the truth matters. The promise of saving children would mean that I would risk their fertility and their function, bypassing all the safeguards we apply in every other area of therapy. When we talk about modality, my biggest fear is that the largest cohort that will end up taking their life are the detransitioners because they do not have a way out. Our children and their families.
It's permanent and irreversible. And most of the time doesn't fix the problem because it's not that. Usually it's autism.
Deserve care, time, and honesty, not promises the medical system cannot keep. Thank you.
It's always good to hear this stuff from the practicing professionals, the people who see it every day, because us as parents can be screaming it from the rooftops all we want, but we get told we're just being selfish. We don't know what we're talking about. So it's nice to hear when somebody who's from the medical world comes out and says, listen, I was in a cult and they wouldn't let me tell the truth. And here's the tragedy. And here's all the people being medically harmed by trusted doctors. Okay. It's time for a government education, folks. You want one of those? Let's see how it goes for you.
I mean this in the nicest way possible, but a lot of you guys skip government class, so let's just explain why the government is really shut down. So here's the deal. Congress has to pass 12 funding bills every year to keep the government running. When they don't, they pass something called a continuing resolution, CR. Basically a temporary band-aid that says we will keep things open while people argue some more. Now the Senate has 53 Republicans. That is the majority, but here's the catch. You need 60 votes to pass something like this.
Right.
Meaning we need 7 Democrats to sign on just to keep the lights on. But instead of coming together, they're refusing to vote for it. And the funniest part is that they are blaming Republicans for the shutdown that they are refusing to end. And then people are saying, well, Trump is a dictator. No, if he was a dictator, then this would not be happening.
Right.
Period. Dictators don't wait for 60 votes. They just say do it and it's done. That is the point of checks and balances. Congress, that's the legislative branch, writes and funds the laws. The president, the executive branch, enforces them. Trump cannot fund the government by himself.
Nope.
That's literally not how the Constitution works. And here's why it gets sketchy, because the CR isn't supposed to be a full-on bill. But Democrats are trying to load it up with extra stuff that has nothing to do with funding. Because they're saying we want to agree to keep...
Right. This is just a bill that has to get passed every certain amount of time for how much spending at the bare minimum they're going to do. That's all it is. It's just like an agreement that the officers of a company make. Okay, they didn't change anything. That's why they keep calling it a clean CR, because they didn't change anything, they didn't take anything away, and they didn't add anything.
The lights on if you won't give us all this extra bonus policy stuff. So yeah, the government is shut down.
Like
Not
some
because
spoiled
Republicans
millennials.
didn't show up, but because 7 Democrats won't stop playing politics with a bill that's supposed to be simple. So the next time someone says the Republicans shut down the government, just remember, it takes 2 branches, 60 votes, and apparently 7 Democrats on vacation. Welcome to how the government...
I love her. She's so cute. I wanted her page to get some recognition. I think she's doing a good job. But yes, it does take both sides to cause a shutdown. And I think the reason why the Republicans aren't budging is because they know that Trump can use other ways to make sure that the vital people need to be paid. So like today, he announced he will get the military paid, and he told Pete Hegseth to use whatever avenues he can to get the military paid. So go on Trump for making sure that our men who are out and about around the world, making sure we can sleep at night, are getting paid. Thank you. So that's a good way to stick it to the demis. All right. I just want to show you this little meme right here. See? Don't forget, Obama shut the government down too. Okay? 17 days. 2013, when my youngest baby was born. For Obamacare. Okay? See? Like it says, it's just a friendly reminder. Just it's friendly. Okay, moving on. Speaking of all this healthcare for illegals that they want in the CR.
Health care for illegals. In case anyone needs this explained, Republicans say that Democrats want to give health care to illegals. Democrats say, no, we don't. What's actually going on? Nothing in the proposed bills say illegals get health care, which is why Democrats are saying, see? But also, Democrats are insistent on including a clause which expands Medicaid funding to emergency rooms. Now, there are several laws that say if somebody shows up to an emergency room, you have to treat them.
How about no? Because every time I went there was people blocking the way for like a cold and a hangnail.
And if illegals don't have health care, where do they go? The emergency room. The hospital is then legally required to treat those illegals, and the bill is then covered by the expanded Medicaid, which is paid for by us, which is effectively health care for illegals. There is your brief overview as to why Republicans are saying that Democrats want health care for illegals.
To expand the options in the emergency room. That's what all this is about. Okay? So they can be seen free in the emergency room. That's it. Makes you really angry, right? Or we're just subjected to what? What control do we really have? Hello? Hint, hint, hint. All right. So now 4 or 5 is a theme for me. So I have like 4 or 5 Charlie Kirk videos for you.
Telling black people you don't need government assistance because you can be somebody is not racist. Telling us that government assistance has hindered us because before we were on government assistance, we were a more successful people is not racist by reading and understanding the facts. Ever since we started getting subsidized by the government, we have been controlled by the government, and not in only what we can do, but how we think.
Right, which is racist in and of itself. Like, it's targeted at the black community. And once you're stuck on the system, it's really hard to get off because you have to take that leap of faith and not get your food stamps and WIC and Medicaid while you switch to a job that can pay you, make you independent, make you a free agent.
So when they're pointing out this stuff, y'all don't like nobody telling y'all the truth. Black people don't.
Right. If the government's giving you money, they own you. You're still a slave to the system, my dear. Listen to this woman. She's so brilliant.
I want to hear the truth because we benefit off of not working and being lazy off of government assistance and stuff. One thing Charlie Kirk also said was if the black people want to become better, we're going to have to stop celebrating crime and murder.
Yep.
Our culture is destruction. Everything we have from...
Stop making music videos like that. Making all the little boys think that's what's cool. Making the little girls think that's what men is. You like what I did there?
The women in our idolization groups, Beyonce, Summer Walker, SZA, Cardi B,
SZA. Just know every time you guys are letting your kids say SZA, they're talking about lesbian activities.
Red, all of them are horrible examples of how to be as a woman. The same thing with the NBA young boy, Lil Baby, Da Baby, Lil Wayne, Baby, P. Diddy. All of those are examples of how to be a terrible person.
Yep.
And what he is saying is get these examples from in front of you and your kids so that y'all can thrive.
That's right.
Also, let's work on building the family back.
Somebody who's racist would not be saying this to them. They'd be like, no, it's exactly what you need to do. Do just like you see in those music videos because they'd be trying to keep them down.
One of the things that destroyed the family was removing a father out the home. Put that back together.
I got a standing ovation when I was running for Congress when I said that they tried to get me wrapped up as a conservative down the rabbit hole about abortion. And I was like, y'all just talking about the symptoms of the problem. The real problem is the nuclear family. We need to get these daddies back in the home because that is why women have abortions. 99.9% of the time because of lack of support. And I'm telling you, the room stood up.
So we can start becoming a good community. But we don't like being told nothing. We don't like being told how to better ourselves because we want to be victims so bad. We want to be at the bottom of somebody's pity party so bad that we'll take anything we can to disregard or dismiss any ethical or sound doctrine to help better ourselves. So that we can steady dwell on a past that no longer affects us, and that we can overcome and have the ability to become somebody.
That's right. She took you to church, Black America. Stop participating in segregating yourselves. You're still being subservient to the slavery of the system. Government is not daddy. Keep your willy in your pants. Ladies, be choosy and picky about who you have babies with, and don't have a baby with a man that is not willing to come home every day to you and that baby, and that his sole mission is letting his manhood shine by you and your baby representing everything he stands for. So no more segregating ourselves. Quit being afraid of everybody who's not Black. It's okay. We are all supposed to be mixing together. That's what the government doesn't want. Be ungovernable, you know? All right. Let's go for another Charlie Kirk. Good old CK. Let's go in for another one.
If they are supporting open homosexuality.
So I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd?
And it is against God. That is
so
why.
let me ask
Are
you a question.
Christian or not?
Do we live in a theocracy, yes or no? No, do we live in a theocracy?
You said you're a Christian.
I am a Christian.
Okay, so for the little jets listening to this video, a theocracy, democracy, ruled by democrats versus ruled by the Bible or a holy book, a government constructed around, a religious belief to rule with religion.
Do you know what? And guess what? I will say this. Part of being a Christian is appropriately interpreting what the theological says for the individual, but also means to be long-suffering and patient and loving and kind. Jesus Christ talked to all people. Jesus Christ went and did his ministry through Judea and Samaria.
Right, this is something I keep preaching about. Okay, so the Bible says homosexuality is gay, but it doesn't tell me homosexuality is gay. Yeah, it's fake and gay. Got what I did there. But it's wrong. But it's not my job to care about it. My job is to be loving, kind, unassuming, not judgmental. All the things he just said. It's the same goes for you. It's not your job to worry about it. Jesus died for those folks, just like he died for you and me. Therefore, he took that upon himself to negotiate between that person and the higher divine.
And he had dinner with tax collectors, and he had dinner with prostitutes, and he did his ministry in every part of the Mediterranean.
Because he needed to see, are these people worth saving? So if I go with the deplorables and I find out, or if I go with the group that these humans hate, the ones of themselves they want cast out, and if I can't find anybody good there, that's all I need to know. So they're out, folks. But yet he did.
What it means to be a Christian, my friend, is to be open-minded but firm in your beliefs so you can have that belief. But if you say there's something inherently wrong with communicating or associating just because they make different personal decisions than you, then you, sir, are not a conservative. Thanks for being here tonight.
Ha ha ha. Mic drop. Okay, next video.
Watch this video with me. Charlie Kirk drops one of the greatest sermons you will ever hear, unintentionally, called The Death of a Man. Let's play it.
There's a reason why the dress for the man is the same at a wedding and a funeral.
because you're saying goodbye to your previous self. The woman is the icon, the symbol of beauty, almost always in all white, right? Ascendant. The man is usually in black and white, like he's attending somebody's death, because it is his death. No, but think about it. It's the death of the bachelor mindset. It's the death of promiscuity. It's the death of the wandering eye. It's the death of immoral behavior. It's the death of texting girls casually. It's the death of I get to do what I want to do. It's the death of just going to the bar with friends. It's the death of acting like an infant. It's the death of playing video games till 1 a.m. And it's the birth of a man.
Watch this video with me, Charlie.
I just really think, like, how can you listen to this man and sit here and have any hatred for him? He's telling men to step up and be loyal and devoted men who one day are going to be our representatives and our health caretakers. And we want a society of youth who we know are going to be honorable, good, clean, and devoted. How you can look at this man and say he was full of hate in any way, I don't know. But let's see the next one. Maybe they'll convince me.
If Bibi Netanyahu does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
What I find strange is that we're able to criticize the American government
And I like that he asked that question out loud, because there's a lot of people who are Christians who feel like they're obligated to support Israel in whatever they do because of how the Bible has been interpreted.
sometimes in the Christian world with more freedom than the Israeli government.
Right.
To be pro-Israel means you believe in the
Hi, Juan
nation of
McLean.
Israel, not necessarily the government of Israel.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the distinction right there. Is it Israel, the people we have a problem with, or is it the government of Israel that we have a problem with? Because you can speak truth about both things. You can speak truth about the government and not be anti-Semitic, and that's like kind of like that whole victimhood that's the Jews have taught Black America, that is how you get what you want, is by holding that card above everybody's head.
And I think those two different things. For example, when Joe Biden was president, you and I we loved America, but we detested our government.
Yeah.
And those two things beautifully coexisted.
Yeah, you never once said, "Hey, I'm out on
America."
On America.
Of course, it was the
right.
opposite.
Exactly.
What they don't want is they don't want to be called bad Christians
right.
if they challenge a foreign government, which is what happens so often. You're a bad Christian if you have a question about a foreign government.
Right.
That creates backlash that I don't think people understand. If Bibi Netanyahu does something...
Okay. So this was nearing the end of his life. And it's just really sad. It's really sad. Okay, the next one.
Lies that Epstein, with his little
and
friend
here we go,
Ghislaine,
folks.
and
Here it
Ghislaine's
is.
father, Robert Maxwell, who is obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz-kid hedge fund manager. Epstein...
No, in fact, if you do research on Epstein, he was a terrible financier. He didn't do good at all. That was just a cover.
was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer.
Right.
Epstein was
A
cast
poser.
for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and
see?
economics.
There you go.
And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel
What's so obvious is right in front of our faces.
agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, Or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
And that
Epstein
is why I think our beloved Charlie Kirk is now no longer with us. I just think they're like, oh, we can't get him to stop talking, so let's offer him this money. You know, double your worth. Once you take that, then, like, how can you say anything bad about them? You're going to keep your mouth shut at that point. All right. So, on that note, what they don't tell you about Israel, folks.
Israel's actually one of the most dangerous countries to do intel with because they steal info all the time. They get caught stealing from us all the time. So this guy named Jonathan Ballard, probably one of the biggest data breaches ever, collects information, gives it to the Russians on behalf of the Jewish people, right? He gets arrested, convicted, etc. Goes to federal prison. He gets a pardon by Donald Trump in 2019, 2020. He gets flown from the United States over to Israel on a private jet owned by Sheldon Adelson, and he's met at the tarmac by who? Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yep.
Wow. So he's greeted like a hero in Israel after committing espionage against the United States. And he's in Israel now, chilling. He got a pardon. Israel's actually one of the most dangerous countries to do intel with because they
Just
steal
thought
info
I'd
all the
drop
time. They
that
get
in
caught stealing from
there
us all the time.
too.
So this guy named Jonathan Ballard,
You
probably one
know,
of the
you
biggest
saw
data breaches
who
ever, collects information, gives it to the Russians
gave him
on
a
behalf
pardon.
of the Jewish people, right? He gets arrested, convicted, etc.
So, hold on.
Goes to federal prison. He
Convicted.
gets a pardon by Donald Trump in
Got a
2019,
pardon
2020. He gets flown
by
from the
Trump.
United States over to Israel
Now
on a
he's
private
living
jet
in
owned by
Israel. Don't like it, folks. Don't like it. Okay. Here's the fat, sweaty douche from the Young Turks. Although, I tend to agree with him on this.
Israel is our top enemy. Enemy! Cut off the goddamn funding! You're taking my money to murder Palestinian children! You goddamn racist! We've given Israel $310 billion!
Do you hear that number? Yeah. I got another video that'll piss you off, too. Yeah, we've been funding this.
And then Israel comes and says, you owe us.
Uh-huh.
Israel controls America. Saying anything otherwise is absurd. It's counterfactual.
Yep.
We should cut off Israel. They're not an ally. Let's be clear about it. No one has gotten us in more trouble. No one has caused more harm. No one has caused more wars in my lifetime than Israel.
Yep.
Israel is not our ally. They are our enemy. They take money from us. They incriminate us to the whole world.
Yep.
No one has hurt this country more. Israel is our...
The thing he said at the end is like the point to be made. They incriminate us from the whole world. It's like that freaking video I saw of them pulling out rubble, and on the side of bomb is like freaking United States of America, made in the USA, and it was just kind of like angering because I don't agree with this at all. And I didn't agree with the war after 9/11. That was all friggin' lies up to us too. But yeah, they're just making us look guilty. And then you wonder why everywhere we travel, everyone hates Americans. Because, like, they keep seeing our weapons being used on them. All right, so on that note, don't fall for the propaganda. There's the to-go food. They're handing to this poor little girl. Ugh. Making her take a picture with this food and then taking it away from her.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to do your own research and not believe everything coming out of Gaza.
Yep, just taking the food away from this starving kid just bought it for a photo op. Hey, stop on the side of the road and let her hold this food, and then we're just gonna keep going. Fucking pieces of trash. All right. So, this is why I say it, that they are pieces of trash. Let's ask an Israeli an important question.
Do you see Jews and non-Jews as the same? כאילו שווה ערך?
No.
Okay, explain.
I see Jews as the chosen nation.
Okay.
They were chosen by Shem.
Does that make Jews better?
Makes Jews different.
Okay.
Like not all of our body parts are the same. They're all the same parts of the body, but there's the mind, there's the heart, there's the foot. They're not all the same. They're all part of the same body.
Do they deserve the same rights? Let's put it that way. Jews,
political
non-Jews,
rights?
anyone who lives here, let's say. Does everyone deserve you treated the same? Let's put it that way.
I think not. I think that this is the nation of the Jews, that the Jews should have more rights than the non-Jews.
Like, give me an example of a right that a Jew should have that a non-Jew shouldn't.
Right now, I think that the Jews should get land here, like the Bible says, that each Jew, when Yeshua came with the Jews to Israel, each one got his own plot of land. So I think that each Jew should get his own plot of land. And
Yeah, but so 2,000 years have passed, and like you don't think that maybe that idea just maybe like expired, because there's like a fuck ton more people. You don't think that? You probably don't, because you probably don't even like read any other books outside of your religion, because you don't even know the expression their rights. What do their rights? What do you mean their rights? No, I don't think anyone should have rights other than the Jews. The Jews should have more rights than the other people, because we're God said so. God said we all should have our own land.
Jews shouldn't.
Do you see Jews and non-Jews?
So there you have it. Out the horse's mouth. You want to watch Piers Morgan and Candace to a little cat fight?
When the leader of Iran says death to America, why doesn't that concern you?
That's a chant. And by the way, I want to be very clear. Why are they chanting death to America? Why are they chanting that? That's kind of a random thing. Like, I know,
because they want Americans dead.
But why do they want? Why are they specifically chanting as opposed to saying, I don't know, death to China or death to Russia? What is it specifically about America?
Well, they say death to America, death to Israel, death to the United Kingdom, actually.
Oh, okay.
Death to pretty much anyone that wants to stand up to them.
Could have had something to do with our actions in the Middle East, is why I'm saying that we need a change in foreign policy. It maybe has something to do with just like killing 1 million Iraqi civilians, okay? Because Bibi Netanyahu got on a congressional stage and said there are weapons of mass destruction, and we took that to the bank, and there actually were no weapons of mass destruction, so we just killed 1 million. It could have something, I could be crazy, it could have something to do with our actions in the Middle East. The fact that we have 2,000 troops stationed in Syria right now under the guise of saying that we're fighting ISIS, while at the same time we know that Bibi Netanyahu funded the Al-Qaeda adjacent fronts because he wanted to overthrow Syria, and they again expand their borders, immediately take on territory, and sell us absolute nonsense. We're talking about funding Hamas. Bibi Netanyahu funded Hamas. There is footage of Bibi Netanyahu saying this stuff on camera. So it's just so ridiculous to me to pretend that they're in some predicament, that they may be eradicated soon, which is why they have to keep funding all of these terrorist groups and then pretending that they're victims of terror, when in fact they are the people that are imparting it worldwide. I just think that, like I said, Generation 9/11 has grown up, and I think that our eyes are very clear here, and we recognize that our relationship with Israel has become increasingly problematic, and it always was problematic.
When the leader of Iran says death,
he didn't even know what to say to her. He was just like, my ex-husband came back from Iraq so screwed up in the head, and the one thing I can remember of all the conversations waiting for him on the phone was hearing him crying, saying, I don't know why we're here. They lied to us. These people are terrified of us. They don't know why we're here. And I was only 20 years old then, but I didn't have the experience in life to even have an inkling of where all this would go. But yes, like the fat guy said on Young Turks, they have gotten us involved in everything that's wrong with the Middle East. And this is why I mentioned wanting the Bushes and the Cheneys also to be hanging from the gallows, because we went around the Middle East being bullies and causing a lot of problems, supplying a lot of war heads now to these Gazan babies, on top of what we did to Iraq. and what was it? Palestine, also Afghanistan. Nick Fuentes, by the way, only has like one video on Charlie Kirk. Come on, Nick Fuentes, like step it up, jeez.
They say that Charlie Kirk was offered an infusion of $150 million by Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That would double Turning Point USA's budget. Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million. For one purpose and one purpose only: to shill for Israel harder. Turning Point.
Because you heard where he was going? Charlie was starting to figure out way too much.
USA is already.
And Shapiro became Israel's bitch. I was going to say something worse. You could probably imagine what word I was going to use.
Pro-Israel. They're not anti-Israel. They've never been anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk has, in the past, criticized Bibi Netanyahu. He has criticized secular left-wing Jewry in America. He has criticized
Jewry,
a war with Iran, the famine in Gaza. He has never opposed Israel in itself. He has never explicitly opposed Israel. Israel offered him $150 million to be more pro-Israel than they already were, to be harder in their support for Israel, and in particular...
But this didn't age well, because we can see that he was starting to push back on Israel. So I think in the beginning he was just naive about Israel and, had the same plight as like other Christians with like feeling like you have to support Israel.
Or regime change in Iran. And
Nick Fuentes, though, could be like Ben Shapiro's cousin. And they even have a similar voice, but they both have like the same shape type head. And like it'd be really funny to get these two in a room.
To support their ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk refused the money. And I have independently confirmed that, by the way. I've heard that from 4 people.
And then this freaking weirdo, Wake Up with Linda, in the comments goes, "This is absolutely not true. It would be illegal for Israel to do that. Only donors, NGOs, organizations can do that. I like this, Nick, but this is bullshit." No, Linda, your mind is bullshit. Your brains are bullshit. You haven't done anything with yourself, because obviously, if you've been paying attention, ma'am, he was talking about using AIPAC to do so. So the donors, NGOs, and organizations that you mentioned, Miss Karen, that's what the fuck he was using.
4 people that I trust that are in the know. So this is coming from Candace Owens, a friend of Charlie Kirk. This is coming from Max Blumenthal, who purports to have a source. And I have heard from a hand...
Yeah, and Blumenthal, come on now. Like, the people that are going on record, these people are not going to lie. Like,
handful of people independently of those sources that this offer was real and that Kirk turned down the money. After Charlie Kirk turned down the money, Netanyahu asked if he would come visit Jerusalem and give him the re-education
persuade
tour.
him.
The Holocaust Museum, the burned babies, the beheaded babies, the one that Elon Musk took, the one that our Speaker of the House took.
Victim story.
Anyone that's ever criticized
We have
Israel
all
has
these
been
countries
subjected
after
to.
us.
He refused that as well. They say that Charlie Kirk was...
It's a bunch of BS, folks. Oh, let's tie DJ Khaled to this mess somehow. Scared to quit and also
Why is
fat.
DJ Khaled the only fat Palestinian? How
Why?
did Muhammad Khaled work with Justin Bieber, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Drake, Future, Jay-Z,
Eating
Beyonce,
good.
even though he can't sing, play instruments, or write? In 2008, he signed to Def Jams, created by Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons flew to Israel on a personal invitation from the
Huh.
president Shimon Peres. He was also a patron for the Muslim-Jewish Alliance.
Why would a president of Israel want a music artist to come to Israel who isn't even look at him. He's not Jewish.
And worked with the Foundation for Equal Understanding. Def Jam is owned by UMG. CEO is Lucian Grain, the guy who Ye called a puppet master. UMG's chairwoman is Sherry Lansing. One of their directors is Haim Saban, who served in the IDF and runs Saban Capital Group, which owns a company that has more than 200 antennas in the occupied West Bank settlement. Another director is Mandy Ginsburg, former CEO of Match Group that owns Tinder, Hinge, Match, OkCupid, and Catholic Meat.
Look at how many things they are in control of. Therefore, in control of your life.
And dating for black people. Their chairwoman of publishing is Jody Gerson. She's from New Jersey and a director on USC Annenberg, a group dedicated to increase diversity in entertainment. Not to be confused with Rick Gerson, also from New Jersey, who raised $300 million for Mr. Beast. UMG is owned by the Rothschilds, who own all these African plantations and their infrastructure. DJ Khaled collabed with me 0 times. Guess what everyone I mentioned has in common? Why is DJ Khaled the only
Can you guess what everyone has in common? They're controlling everything you consume mentally, folks. Everything. Those guys over in Israel have such an agenda to make sure, for some reason, they control how Americans think, you know? America with the deep pockets, with our valuable money. Interesting, right? Let's talk about Luigi Mangione. He's innocent, according to his attorneys.
Let's get right into some breaking news. We are learning this morning that Luigi Mangione's lawyers are seeking dismissal of federal charges. This, again, just coming in hours ago here. So lawyers for Luigi Mangione asked a New York federal judge this morning to dismiss some criminal charges, including the only count for which he could face the death penalty from a federal indictment brought against him in the December assassination of United Healthcare's chief executive. In papers filed in Manhattan federal court, the lawyers said prosecutors should also be prevented from using at trial his statements to law enforcement officers and his backpack where a gun and ammunition were found. They said Mangione was not read his rights before he was questioned by law enforcement officers.
Look at how the artist drew
arrested
him.
him after Brian Thompson was fatally shot as he arrived at a Manhattan hotel. They added that officers did not obtain a warrant before searching Mangione's backpack. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to state and federal charges in the fatal shooting of Brian Thompson.
So they're seeking a dismissal because there was no warrant issued for the backpack. So this trial is going to come down to paperwork is what this trial is going to go.
They didn't read him his rights.
Oh, and he didn't get Mirandized. That's right. He didn't get Mirandized before he was questioned, so they fucked this all up. So how many of you are actually happy for that? Knowing that these CEOs to these health insurance companies were literally manipulating their algorithms to just let people die and not give them the medication in order to save money on their quarterly reports. How come no one is making law reform for that? How come everyone's just focusing on the fact that he killed this guy and not the reason why? I mean, geez. He's like a bloodline heir to like United Healthcare, I think.
December 4th, as he arrived at a Manhattan hotel for his company's annual investor conference. Last month, lawyers for Mangione asked that his federal charges be dismissed and the death penalty be taken off the
table. Look at him. He's growing up, man. He's getting beefy. Getting older. How long has this been? It's been going on a while.
As a result of public comments by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. In April, Bondi directed prosecutors in New York to seek the death penalty, calling the killing of Thompson a, quote, premeditated, cold-blooded...
I'm not gonna lie. Y'all probably hate me for saying this, but I hope he doesn't get the death penalty. Like, there's somewhere in under there where I could see how he was trying to, like, defend and save lives, you know, because he is in the know on exactly what's going on behind closed doors with these insurance companies, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It is akin to murder, in my opinion.
Assassination that shocked America. Murder cases are usually tried in state courts, but prosecutors have also charged Mangione under federal law on murders committed with firearms as part of other, quote, crimes of violence. It's the only charge for which Mangione could face the death penalty since it's not used in New York State. The papers filed again early this morning argue that this charge should be dismissed because prosecutors have failed to identify the other offenses that would be required to convict him, saying that the alleged other crime, stalking, is not a crime of violence. We'll continue to follow this story here for you on Live Now from Fox.
Welcome, Smooth
I do
Daddies.
also want to turn to the White House for another.
All right. So I want to know if you're Team Mangione or Team Bondi on this one. I think I'm Team Mangione. Sorry, folks. I'm just not okay with insurance companies just denying coverage for people to save money. There are other ways that they can do that, and it is wrong and not okay. All right, so you better foster the gays or you can't help. Loading.
Can you waive this at all? We will absolutely love and support and care for any child in our home, but we simply can't agree to go against our Christian faith.
Lydia and Heath Marvin are ready to bring kids into their home on a moment's notice. The Woburn couple reconfigured their home to care for 8 foster children, including a baby with complex medical needs for 15 months. That's in addition to their own 3 kids. And they were ready to keep going until Massachusetts Department of Children and Families pulled their license last spring.
Now that it seems like there's no path forward.
We certainly thought we would have young children in our home. For how long, we didn't know, but we were not done having young children in our home.
The heart of the issue, the Marvins refused to sign DCF's LGBTQIA+ non-discrimination policy, which states a foster family must accept a child's assertion of their LGBTQIA+ identity, address children by their names and pronouns, and support gender-neutral practices regarding clothes and physical appearance.
We had asked, is there any sort of accommodation? Can you waive this at all? We will absolutely.
I agree with them. I would absolutely never agree to just give in to the whims. I would agree to the fact that I would provide them therapeutic care to see if that's truly what they have, if all of the things can be ruled out. I would agree to not discriminating to someone who is gay, but I wouldn't sit here and agree to gender affirming bullshit because science dictates that if you're a girl, you're a girl. And if you're a boy, you're a boy. And that's what I would do in my home. And if they didn't want to place a kid with me, well, then I guess it's just not the right time.
We love and support and care for any child in our home, but we simply can't agree to go against our Christian faith in this area. And we're ultimately told, no, you must sign the form as is, or else you will be delicensed.
The Marvins are still considering their options, but 2 other Massachusetts Christian...
Move. If it's so important to you to have kids, young children, move to a state that understands that and get the hell out of Massachusetts. That whole northeast corner, it's garbage.
Foster families filed a federal lawsuit against DCF in September, represented by the Massachusetts Family Institute and national group Alliance Defending Freedom.
So there's a speech component and also a religious liberty component to the lawsuit.
Just last week, the Trump administration sent Mass DCF a letter. It mentions the Marvins directly and says, quote, "These policies and developments are deeply troubling, clearly contrary to the purpose of child welfare programs and in direct violation of First Amendment protections." But LGBTQ+ advocates argue the non-discrimination policy is for kids. Massachusetts foster parents also...
But it shouldn't be a topic for kids because this is about sexual behavior in children, and it shouldn't even be something on there. It shouldn't even be in the form. What should be in the form is, do you agree to protect your child from sexual predators and stay aware of how to spot a sexual predator and what to do if you think your child may be in danger of one, like that should be in there. But gender affirming bullshit, if you want to be a foster parent, it shouldn't even be in there, because I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be talking to your foster children about that unless it's how to protect themselves from creepy adults.
Receive a monthly stipend.
Like, the state has an obligation to children to make sure that they're safe and well protected. And like foster parents, they're not parents.
But the state doesn't have an obligation to be concerned about a child's gender.
Right? Foster parents are temporary. They're supposed to be there. There's a stopgap to try to make sure children can go safely back to their families of origin.
Data collection by Mass DCF is poor.
Okay, so if it's a stopgap, it shouldn't matter to you. Should it?
According to a report by the Massachusetts Commission on LGBTQ Youth, but the report suggests roughly 30% of Mass foster children could identify as LGBTQ, like the data collected in Los Angeles and New York.
Right, the hub of like depositing sex trafficked humans.
Marvins have not cared for any kids over the age of 4 and say DCF has been flexible about placements in the past. That's why they're hoping for a conversation.
But what if you had a kid whose views about their own gender did not align with your religious beliefs? What would you guys do?
We would love and care and support any child. But if there was an issue where we knew that we would have a different position than DCF, we would just be open and talk to them about it.
Can you waive this at all? We will absolutely love and support.
That's all you can do, is tell your children the truth. Don't lie to them. Lying to them, you wouldn't point at a duck and call it an eagle. That would be a lie. So tell the truth. That's the best way to deal with dysphoria, is by accepting what your body has, accepting what you're born with. You don't lie. Tell your kids the truth about everything, and that's how you handle that issue when it comes up. The worst thing you can do to your kids is to lie to them about anything, because then later, after they've transitioned and they're in full regret, they're going to look at you as their parent and be like, why the hell did you let me do this? And why did you keep placating to my delusions? And tell me, yeah, sure, yep, you are a cat. You are a girl. No, I have a dick, and you told me I was a girl. And why the hell did you let me mutilate myself like this? It will be your fault. So, wouldn't you much rather them be mad at you for telling them the truth than for lying to them? Think about that. Next, Don Lemon is really stupid, and I hate his hat.
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act.
Okay.
It's a misdemeanor.
So why are they being sent back and saying that they're breaking the law?
Yeah. Did you hear what he said? A misdemeanor isn't a crime. These are the people that have been on TV influencing your kids, saying stupid shit like that, and then going to school and thinking the teachers are dumb and you're stupid.
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that
We don't know if they're breaking the law because they won't tell. There's no due process. Where's the evidence? That's the whole.
Where do you even go with this sense of stupid? Where do you even go with this train of thought? Where do you go with how do you know? Well, they don't speak any English. They don't know the national anthem. They don't know the Pledge of Allegiance. They do funny things that aren't typically acceptable in public, you know? Like stalking women, stabbing people that they were, you know, so kind enough to let them share a home. You know, maybe stepping through the fence, over it, floating over the Rio Grande. I think's a big clue.
Point. And if they are breaking the law, most people will say, okay, then they need to go if they're criminals.
Yes, that's what we're fucking saying by that gigantic red map you saw.
Drinking, get pulled over, DUI.
That's not a criminal act. Well, no, if you're speeding is a misdemeanor. Right.
So still.
But it is a criminal act. That's what a misdemeanor is. Breaking law. Anything fucking retarded. I wonder if he was a DEI hire.
Breaking the law.
Okay, well, if you want to qualify that, we're doing semantics. But what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to tell you is everything is not the same. It's all not one thing.
But is it the law? Is it a law to come
Is
over
there a
legally?
law?
Is there a law?
There are rules that processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
So what happens?
He's a freaking moron. Like, with all the confidence in the world, he's calling it a rule, okay? He's psychologically softening it for your kids. They're just rules you're breaking. It's okay to break rules, you know. It's just, all we could do is say we don't like it. A rule. Rule of law.
Then you suffer the consequences. But the consequences should not. Look, no one is saying no one should suffer the consequences. You guys are getting things mixed up.
Okay, crossing
Was he drinking? Sounds like he was DUI. They're getting things mixed up. No, Don Lemon, you're a has-been and need to shut up and go away. Oh, and this hotel seems really nice.
I went to a 1-star rated hotel to see if it's really that bad. This is Sunnyside Hotel in San Francisco. Take it from Cezia, who says, I hope this business closes. My dad died here in 2023. So with such great reviews, I knew I had to stay here. Now, when entering into the hotel,
There's a
it
sock.
definitely had some different aesthetics. Even the concierge was excited for me to stay there.
Stay before with us?
No. It's nice.
No.
I finally
No.
found my room and
I'm in a house.
yeah, it definitely was something.
I love
He's
a place
sweating.
with some artwork. Clearly they've been doing renovations. You can tell it's definitely like a vintage furniture. You got a lovely sink. What's inside?
Oh my god.
Oh, please be okay.
Poop.
Oh my god. So you can store a lot of your stuff in there.
A
That's
lot.
good.
A lot of your stuff.
I think even the concierge was a little bit concerned.
Do you like here or no? I don't think so. You like here, no.
But if that wasn't bad enough, I had to do a little bit more investigating.
But, like, you could just simply clean up, and then you wouldn't have to be so worried about your guests running away from the feces in the sink.
Especially when it came to the bed.
Oh my god. At this point, I want to die.
And it definitely got worse.
Oh my god.
Oh, gross. This is just so
yeah, with all
gross.
things considered, I can confirm Sunnyside Hotel is most definitely a 1-star. I went to a 1-star rated.
This is in San Francisco. I just can't even understand. Like, this is what's happening in fucking California. I went and stayed in LA a couple years ago, and it was bad. It was just disgusting, gross. I picked up scabies from the hotel room. It was freaking disgusting. Like, oh my god, yo. How? This has to be like a thing, though. Like, they have to be doing this on purpose. Isn't it nice? I think you guys should go stay there and report back to me. All right. I'm out of here for the night. It was a good one. See you guys tomorrow.